This is the Quantum Leap podcast. I'm Peter,
And I'm Mikey.
and today we are rewatching season one, episode one and two, Genesis. The original air date is March 26th, 1989. And Mikey, we're here. This is our first episode.
It is frightening. Hopefully, people want to hear this. Hopefully, they want to listen to a newbie's experience with Quantum Leap with a
Yeah,
30-some-year-old
absolutely.
TV show.
Yeah, depending if you guys listened to the announcement episode, if you did not get a chance to hear that, we are the new voices of the Quantum Leap podcast. I don't want to say replacing, but we are providing new perspectives to the show. We're not trying to replace anything Christopher and Allison, Matt, and Albie have done. They are the legacy hosts, so to speak, and the podcast has been idle for a bit of time, and if you guys listened to the cancellation episode when they discussed the reboot series, it sounded like they kind of wanted to take a break. Everybody has said everything they wanted to say, and so Mikey and I wanted to come in and kind of do a bit of a rewatch of these episodes. I'm coming in as someone who did grow up on the original run. Mikey is brand new to the series, and we're hoping that people will be interested in joining us for our journey and Mikey's journey for watching this for the very first time. So briefly, Mikey, if you want to kind of give an introduction for anyone that has not uh, seen our posts on social media or our announcement episode.
My name's Mikey, as he said. I've never really been a host on a podcast before, just guest on a few podcasts, mostly Peter's, mostly through Cobra Kai Companion. Um, I'm a big Back to the Future fan, but for some reason never got into Quantum Leap. It was just kind of one of them shows that I guess I missed the beginning of. And back in the 80s and early 90s, if you kind of missed the beginning of the show, there was no way to catch up and there was no way to rewatch it at that point. And yeah, it was just something that passed me by. I'm a huge fan of stories of time travel in it. I think it's a cool element, and I'm excited to watch the show for the first time.
Yeah, and I'm excited to revisit these episodes. I've been podcasting for 11 years. I actually met Albie pretty early on in the Quantum Leap podcast's run, where my very first idea was to actually start a Quantum Leap podcast. And there was no rewatch podcast at the time. That's something that's a little bit newer. And I discovered QLP, and Albie and Heather were doing such a great job. I decided, I'm gonna try something else. But Albie and I remain friends. I co-host the Back to the Future animated series podcast with him. So some of you may know me from there. I am also coming from the Cobra Kai fandom, where I covered that series in its entire run over on YouTube Premium and Netflix. And I was essentially the Albie of that fandom, So I interviewed the showrunners, Ralph Macchio, William Zabka, the leads of that show. And so I am bringing, 7 years of experience. We're not, we're probably not going to really do any interviews because they've all been done on this before. We're just coming in, we're going to do a rewatch, and I think it'll be interesting to hear somebody's perspective who has never seen the show before. And it's been, we're going on, yeah, what, over 35 years since this initial run. I did mention I grew up with the series. I mentioned the first air date, March 26th, 1989. That was 2 days after my sixth birthday. And so
Oh my goodness.
yeah, literally grew up watching this show. So there's going to be a lot of things that um, I'm going to. It's not like I watched it back when the last time I watched it was when I was six, but I do believe going back and rewatching these, there's going to be things that definitely went over my head that I'm going to understand now, and things that are probably going to be cleared up for me that I misremember or something like that. We're not experts by any means, so like I
Not
said,
at all.
yeah, not at all. These are going to be big shoes to fill. And I'm going to be kind of rediscovering the show all over. And there's going to be things that I didn't really kind of know an explanation to. I just accepted things at face value because I was a kid. And I do feel the last time I watched this was probably about 10 years ago, maybe close to it. I was introducing my oldest son to it, who was really getting into it as well. And I thought it was something that maybe him and I could do where we rewatch the series together. But at the time, he was a teenager and he got, uh, busy with after school activities and things of that nature. And so it's not something we were able to finish together. But here is Mikey, my adopted big adult, I guess we could say. Uh, yeah, we're gonna go on this
Somewhat
journey
older than you,
together.
but okay. Sure,
Yes,
yeah.
this
Yeah.
is true. Yeah, so I
Yes.
too am a big Back to the Future fan. So a little inside baseball, pun unintended there for the latter half of this two-part episode. But Mikey and I, yeah, we Back to the Future fans. The first time him and I met in person, we rented a DeLorean together, went driving around, and got pictures near the Back to the Future filming locations that we can get to, some Karate Kid filming locations, and then we went to go watch the musical together opening night in New York, where we got pictures with Bob Gale. So just a little, bio about us to give you guys an idea of who we are and how him and I are connected. And so, yeah, fresh and wet behind the ears in the Quantum Leap fandom. So many of you guys welcomed the reboot series, and hopefully, you guys will welcome our first perspectives on the Legacy show. So, um, all right, Mikey, Genesis, here we go. We're gonna get into this episode. The leap date, I know that in the episode, it doesn't give you an exact date, but just from some of the resources that I have up, it dated this leap to September 13th, 1956. Is that something you also had or come across?
Yeah, that date I had, but when they leap further in 1968, I did not see a exact date. But yes,
All right.
September.
Well,
Okay.
give us a little description of these two episodes, and we'll get into it.
All right. Sam Beckett prematurely steps into the Project Accelerator and vanishes. While in 1956 suffering from partial amnesia, Sam cannot remember his own identity, nor Al's. There are two things he is sure of, though. He is not the Air Force pilot who everyone thinks he is, and he cannot fly. And then later on in 1968, Sam must prevent a baseball team from losing the season in last place, but first takes a break to call home.
All right. Both episodes were written by creator Donald P. Bellisario and directed by David Hemmings. Also, we didn't mention this. We will be playing games. We have some superlatives at the end of each episode, and we will review what those categories are when we get to them. Also, because we get a bit of a teaser into the next episode, we get to see where Sam leaps. We'll try to make sure that that is kind of in line with its original run. I understand that some of the streaming episodes or maybe DVDs, home releases, that they may have the incorrect leaps as teases, if that makes sense.
Oh,
So yeah. So again, Mikey, like when we, kind of watch these episodes for our review, I'll make sure that what we see in the episode lines up with what's actually airing next. And also, Mikey will be
okay.
giving a prediction based off what he sees, and I will give him the title. And I think that will be fun too, because how can you guess any of these, especially where some of the episodes take us? So the idea is just, to have a little fun. Hopefully, you guys can enjoy some of that, and who knows? Maybe your answers to these categories may be different from ours. And also, was there anything else at the very end that we were gonna do? Your date in history. So a little
Yes.
kiss with time, I think was the expression that was used for some of this. Well, not necessarily on the show. It's kind of when they introduce something that's like from the real world. What you're gonna be giving us is just a kind of a fun statement, fact, or what have you. A nugget from the actual leap date from our uh, history. So
I have a couple nuggets. Couple nuggets for you.
yeah. All right, so let's start off with your first impressions of this episode, this pilot episode where Sam does leap into a pilot, Tom Stratton. What did you think?
Okay. So I hit play and immediately I thought I hit the wrong show because Al, who didn't know who he was at the time, is driving like this futuristic vehicle and picks up this woman who has like these light up earrings and maybe shoes, I believe. And I thought she was like an alien, like one. I thought it was like one of them body snatcher alien shows, like with a hot woman. And like honestly, I realized later I'm on the correct show. But I thought, okay, well, apparently she'll play into something here. She never comes back in the whole episode. She's just there to be hot. Um, so, and then uh, Al is driving, and I like he tells her, I can't tell you anything that's all top secret. But then he radios with with headquarters,
Yoshi,
I
I think is
guess.
who he's talking to.
Yeah, yes, thank you. And because Sam is about to leap, and then Sam is standing there in a big bright light, kind of looking like Jesus Christ, some people's saviors. And honestly, I thought he was nude for a hot minute, but he's just wearing all white. And then the show starts. The introduction
It really
starts.
does.
Theme song.
So again, this is going to be a little, this is our first episode, so we're trying to get into the swing of things here. I did not go over any of the cast members. Scott Bakula, Dr. Sam Beckett, right? That's going to be our lead, our other lead, Dean Stockwell as Al. And then you mentioned Tina. She is played by Barbara Horan. My apologies if I mispronounced that. I believe this is her only appearance as Tina. However, Tina will be mentioned here and there just by name. No one huge or essential to the plot per se, but you'll hear that name again, along with other names that Al drops, which I believe he's dropped at least two or three different women's names in these couple of episodes.
I believe so, yeah.
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 So, so I think, with the introduction of Tina, I don't have a whole lot to add to the Tina thing, but I do think we're kind of just given an idea of Al's personality, right? Like he picks up this young lady. He's actually kind of slick, He is kind of forward, but also he's not blatantly saying what's on his mind, but he does, kind of, the implication of like, I'll, love to fix that flat tire for you, or whatever. There's going to be a lot of, things that Al says that are innuendos, and this is, kind of his character.
It's a very weird place to get a flat tire, by the way. So his car, like, so I don't want to keep bringing up Back to the Future, but is this car supposed to be sort of like a DeLorean? It kind of looks like a DeLorean, but it's not really, but kind of sort
Right.
of. I guess it's supposed to be a futuristic car.
I'm skimming through the trivia, and I don't believe they have anything listed. But I've always felt like it looked like an older Ferrari, and I'm sure with certain mods and
Okay.
stuff. But there is a tidbit here that they used the same sound effect as Kit for the sound of his
Oh,
vehicle.
that actually, now that you say that, I actually do recognize that. I did like too. I car kind of sort of looked futuristic, but also it had 80s hubcaps on it, which was kind of funny. Uh, just watching
They're
it.
vintage.
But
They're vintage.
yeah, 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 yes, definitely. Um, so
So, so, so I was just
again,
gonna add a couple guest stars as well. I won't get into like the co-starring or anything because it'd just be like a long list. But some of the other guest stars we have Jennifer Runyon as Peggy Stratton or Peg is Tom's wife. John Allen Nelson played Captain Bill, aka Bird Dog Burdell. W.K. Stratton as Dr. Berger. We actually might see his face again in a few episodes as different characters. So something they did
oh,
back in the day. Cheers, like you would get a guest star that might show up as a different character, seasons later, that kind of deal. This show was no different. They did some of that. Um, and
Smallville would do
this
that too with Vancouver
right.
actors. They would,
hmm
yeah. Sorry,
And also Bruce McGill as I didn't know he was doctor, but Dr. Weird Ernie Ernst. So
and he,
I
yes, and I immediately recognized him as the sheriff from My Cousin Vinny. Whenever Joe Pesci needs help, and he goes to the sheriff, and then he gets on the stand and says, "Oh, we actually arrested someone else with a mint green car." That was him. I recognized him instantly. I don't understand why the character's name is Weird Ernie. I don't understand. He wasn't very that. weird to me, but yeah. And Jennifer Runyon, I sort of recognized, and then I realized after looking at IMDb, I realized she is, of course, the girl that only likes Steve for his money in the season 2 episode of Beverly Hills 90210, which, no one listening to this probably cares about except for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I care deeply if you care about it. I
Okay.
knew her, I knew her as I believe she was in like a very Brady Christmas maybe. She was in one of those like Brady movies,
Yes.
and I
She
think
had a
she
small
played
part in
Cindy.
Ghostbusters too. Oh,
Yes,
did she
yeah,
play Cindy?
yeah.
Oh, I
I
didn't
believe
realize
she
that.
played right, because I don't think they were able to get the original actress, and they might have kind of
Oh,
mixed up some of the original actors. I was a kid. Look, it came out like in '88, I think that one did, and so yeah, I recognized her from that and this well, this episode. Well, she's in this episode, but yeah,
yes.
W.K. Stratton. I immediately remembered like some of the episodes that he will later be returning in, and looking forward to seeing his return. But okay, so in terms of the Quantum Leap project, were there any other characters or even like Al? What did you pick up from this episode in terms of like their kind of their roles for the project or the show?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I mean, not
that's a
much,
thing.
honestly, so far. Yeah. Like, I I didn't pick much up much. I was kind of learning as Sam was kind of learning because he lost his memories, and I guess it was kind of the a good storytelling device because Sam doesn't really remember who he is, and Al's telling us and Sam who he is, and but yeah, I not not much between them because we were only there for a minute, and then just Al's popping up every once in a while. Um, yeah.
So Al is going to be the one that feeds him information. Al will be telling Sam, these are the probabilities of what we think you need to do in order to leave, to fix the wrong in a sense. What did you what did from the context, who and what is Ziggy?
So I believe Ziggy is a supercomputer that is sort of telling Al what to tell Sam what his mission is for the leap so that it can be completed, is what I gathered mostly.
Pretty much, yeah. You're going to hear about Ziggy just about every episode. In So far, they are referring to Ziggy as a he, so nothing too
Oh.
important. But later on, well, once we do hear Ziggy's voice, it won't be for a few seasons. It is voiced by Deborah Pratt, who is clearly a woman, and so Ziggy will have a woman's voice later on in the series. Gushy, I mentioned Gushy. He kind of runs the controls back at the project, and so you won't hear his name too often, but he is a character.
That was who originally radioed to Al, correct, at the
Yeah,
beginning? Okay, yeah. And who was
and
there at the beginning.
yeah, and there's a running joke that he's the guy with like bad breath. So,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, you'll hear that come up
Great.
like, oh yeah, the guy with bad breath. So but poor Gushy there. That's kind of what he's known for. And that's pretty much it. We already got the Sam. What did you learn about Sam's um kind of kind of backstory? It's kind of weird for me to say backstory, but more so like of his family. What do you remember hearing about um the things that we learned about Sam that as he was learning himself?
So about his family, I'm just is his dad dead, I'm assuming. And I believe so. And he because he was trying to call him each leap. Um and it was funny you remembered him then. I don't know if they had a falling out or anything. Not sure what happened there. Um and yeah, I don't that's all I know about his family, I believe. Um
Okay, I
for
I I believe yeah, I believe he no we might have found out that his dad passed in 74 during these leaps.
Okay.
And yeah, and so he knew that he was in 56 and ultimately 1968 and his dad would still be alive. So we learned about dad John, and he mentions a sister named Katie who marries She does he does mention the name. I don't have it here in front of me, but he mentions the sister, he mentions um like being a doctor, we'll come back to that. So yeah, he's
Yes.
got a few doctorates and things of that nature. Okay, so I think that's enough for the characters. Let's go ahead and get into some of the notes that you have.
Okay. Well, first, I thought it was kind of weird, and I don't know if this is how the leap will happen each time, but he was literally flying through the sky when he entered into it was Tom, correct, for the first person?
Yes.
The pilot, yeah, Tom's body. I thought that was a very weird transition. Um, I liked that the alarm pops on, and I think this is the only like actual song we hear through the episode. It's a Doris Day song. Um, and I'll talk about that later. And but I will say, like, it was funny because it was 1950. Okay, so I was also wondering, is it 1956 because Back to the Future was 1955? I'll stop bringing Back to the Future, I swear. Uh, but they chose that as their first time period of all the time periods to go to. Um, they chose 1956, which was very close. The Back to the Future visited the 50s. Um,
Yeah, I don't have any tidbit as to why they would have cho why they chose that date. Maybe it's up to the writers to kind of pick the dates themselves. I'm not sure. That may have been answered in in the mini interviews that have been done with, people from its original run as well. But I'm not sure. It could be you're right. I mean, you're also talking about you know, 1989, this comes out. They're already in production, probably post-production for Back to the Future Part 2, which comes out in 89 to 90, right, for Part 3. So
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Because the Howdy Doody pops on, and that also happens in part two of Back to the
3,
Future. So, or three.
yeah, the beginning of Part 3.
Right. Okay. Yeah. 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 Okay. Because that popped on, and I was like, did they steal that from Back to the Future too? But no. But I mean, Howdy Doody was the show then. But I also felt like in the '80s we kind of did like a series would do like a Breakfast Club episode or something like that. And I kind of felt like this was their Top Gun episode to start out with. Like Top Gun was, a few years before that.
Mhm.
Um, I think it was '86, I believe, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, 86.
Okay. I did think whenever Sam was looking in the mirror, Tom didn't look too dissimilar from him. So it was like a little bit, and he was wearing shaving cream. So I don't think that was like a good first reveal for somebody that's supposed to look different. Um, what else did I got there? Um,
I do like that actually. Let's go back to that real quick because I think well, first off, that scene was actually kind of comical. Like he's waking up to this young lady who's visibly pregnant, and she keeps
yes.
calling him, a different name, and he remembers his name, Sam. That is something that he does remember, but that's pretty much it, and a phone number. He remembers his name and a phone number. And so, he goes into the shower, and I'd like to kind of get your read, but he steps into the shower and is still wearing like boxers, as she like turns on the shower and he's, proceeds to put on shaving cream and all that. I thought it was kind of funny because I don't know if he was still kind of processing everything that's going on. Like I don't know this woman. She's pregnant and I guess I'm her husband. But also I feel it's also like Sam, he feels that he is somebody else and is a little and doesn't want to undress fully in front of this woman who he feels is a stranger, but like is his wife.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about it that much. I just thought, well, it's network television. I did think it was weird. I mean, did wives turn on the water for their husbands in the '50s? They can't turn on the water themselves. That was like, did she put his
Well,
shaving cream on too? Like,
he
yeah,
he woke up and didn't seem to be himself, so I think she's
gotcha.
just kind of doing the thing as if Mikey, you're in the show. They have a child named Mikey, and
That's true. Favorite character.
I'm sure she would do the same thing for him, in the morning before school, right? All right, let's get you ready. You're moving a little slow. Let me just help you get started real quick. I think maybe that's what it is. But yeah, she's got a few friends too. They all seem to share a little bit of, I wouldn't say it's TMI, but it's they reveal a little bit about their personal lives with their husbands. I thought that was kind of fun. One of the husbands wears like goggles in bed, apparently.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I also thought it was one point, I think Sam was thinking to himself, like, I don't really know who I am, but I am attracted to Peg, even though she's 6 months pregnant. And I'm like, what? Whoa, easy fella. Um,
That was
but and
kind
then
of that was a kind of an interesting comment, but I don't disagree with him. Like with my wife, like I've you guys will eventually learn this about me, so I'll go ahead and reveal it now. I have five kids, two are adults, but every time my wife was pregnant, it was always like a little bit of an extra glow. Like I kind of get what Sam means by that.
but at the dance too, he did refer to as a well-rounded partner as well. So so
It's the
there was
80s,
pregnancy
late 80s.
jokes all over. Yeah, there was. They talked about stretch marks. So yeah, we she's pregnant. In case you weren't sure. Um,
Well,
but
you know what's funny is actually one of my notes, because she is pregnant, there was a moment that made me kind of worry for her safety. It's following after an explosion, and Peg comes running out, and she does nothing to like, protect her belly as she's running, with the ch child inside. She's got like her arms to her side, running outside as if, she's actually not pregnant because, the actress isn't. And so
yeah,
it's just one of those like little goofs where she comes running out. I go, she's not even protecting the baby. Like if I was a director, I would have been like, okay, hey, let's run it back. Remember, you're 6 months pregnant, and yeah, she's just come running out. But to be fair, right? Like that's kind of your first inst. I don't know. I don't want to speak to 'cause I've never been pregnant because I don't know. But the sound of an
yes.
explosion and your husband being a test pilot, I can only imagine the worry that the character was actually going through. But that's something that happened where I'm just kind of like, oh no, she's not holding her belly. Like, protect that baby, please. You know.
Well, the and Sam's main problem is he has to fly a plane, and he doesn't know how to fly, and he also has to break a record, and that's not too good for somebody that doesn't know how to fly. So, and this is all before Al pops up, and he doesn't really know, and he doesn't really recognize Al at first. Um, so, so that's his main dilemma here. But um, uh, sorry, I lost my thought on that. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned Al appearing, he does appear about three times. I think it's the third time that they actually talk. The first time Al appears,
Yes.
it's in the office, but only he says a few things to Sam, and Sam gives him a look and like just nods, because like I think Al I'm forgetting the actual dialogue, but Al talks about like how everything kind of reminds him of like his days or whatever, and Sam just looks and acknowledges, but doesn't really comment. And then the second time is when he's in the cockpit, Sam that is, and he sees Al like sitting in the back, and he asks Bird Dog like, hey, like is everyone back there okay? And then it's not
Yes.
until the kind
The
of like the Top
dance,
Gun
the
scene,
bar.
the dance with the jukebox, the bar,
Yeah.
thank you, is
Yes.
when, is when finally, like they have a talk. So what did you think about Al appearing those three times and never like mentioning anything of the project. Like I'm sure they're trying to build a little bit of, not necessarily tension, but when they talk, it's going to be something kind of serious, So, at first, Al is just kind of observing. Even though he got a call from Gushy, it's like, well, Sam leaped prematurely, so you almost feel like there's some concern there. But we're going to find out that it took them a while to kind of locate him, and once they found him, it seemed to be okay. He seems to be alive, so we're good. We're just gonna kind of let things play out, question mark, because he gives nothing to Sam until the third time.
Yeah, he really just and he doesn't really I don't even think he really tells him too much the third time. He just tells him that he's. I think at that point, Sam realizes that he is a time traveler. Um, but he says he can't answer too many questions for him, and I, I'm trying to because after that, he when him and Mikey are fishing, Sam pops up then too, and that was the end of the first ep. I think that's in the end of the first episode. And I think Al tells him a little bit more there, but I don't think it's till like episode two where he really explains like you need to fix something. That's why you're here. That's what you need to do to get back. So, um,
I think, like the show, the project themselves, they were trying to figure things out because we do learn from Al that Sam, he created Ziggy, but also, there's these restrictions on what can be fed back to Sam. I think maybe to also help jog his memory, but if he doesn't know it, we can't really tell him due to these rules that we've kind of came up with ourselves. It's going to get a little frustrating. There's going to be times where they go against their own rules, because I believe Christopher DeFilippis was a big fan of that expression. And so there's going to be times where you may ask me something and I also may reply with because show, or I don't know. So for those that are listening at home, if you guys have the answers and would love to provide some feedback to correct us, we're open to that as well as we
oh,
learn, the
100%.
lore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I do believe Al tells him though at some point he has to make everybody believe that he's Tom the pilot, or else he can't leap out of there. So I think we end that first episode with he kisses Peg, and I got the feeling that Peg didn't think it was him, but maybe she was just worried about the upcoming flight. I wasn't sure, and it seemed like all of his fellow pilots, because there was a plane that flew in and did like a barrel roll or something, and it was called something specific. And Mikey asked, "Hey, what was that?" And Tom slash Sam didn't know the answer to it, and everyone was looking at him weird, like, "Why don't you know that?" So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I forget which of the other buddies that actually like Tom, it's called a Sherelle or it's I forget the word, but yeah, he says it. It's like, well, yeah, yeah, it's one of those things that Sam's gonna be doing that where he's gonna say something like I don't know, like, well, you should because that character does know that, or the person that you leaped into, and vice versa. Sam dropping knowledge from the future that, is something that the people around him wouldn't understand. One of the things that I liked was, because Peg is pregnant, and I forget what it was that Sam tells her, but he goes doctor's orders, and then he does this look where he kind of like looks out into space, with like, "How do I know that? Am I a doctor?" So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I kind of forget how good this episode is and how things already feel like lived in, like Dean Stockwell, like Al Calavici already feels like so lived in. And I think giving Sam Beckett Swift Cheese memory gives Scott Bakula, something to work with as well as he tries to figure out Sam, while Sam also tries to figure out himself. And so I kind of like that stuff. Some of those little touches. We talked about this last night, obviously off recording, but the Al opening an invisible door. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't understand, yeah, because I believe it's the only time he does it. It sort of looked like a Harry Potter kind of thing, to me, maybe. But yeah, I didn't I other times he just pops in and pops out, but this time he opened up the invisible door. I didn't really, I don't know, didn't
Yeah,
understand that.
you'll get familiar with the sound effect for sure. And I also forgotten. I don't know if I even remembered that he opens up the door like an actual door. So I feel like the next episode we're probably going to see the more traditional vertical, door opening and closing. So yeah, he'll step into a portal and then it'll close in front of him and he controls it with a hand link. I think this time around, I don't think
Oh,
we
okay.
saw the hand link and he just like reaches for a knob and opens the door up like an
Yeah.
actual door. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, usually he will come in. And often it's off screen because it's like in the middle of dialogue with like Sam and another character. And so I love the sound effect of the imaging chamber door opening. Um, let's see. What about mention the door? Ah, one of my favorite moments here, which might be showing my hand a little bit when we get to some of the superlatives, when he goes on the fishing trip with Mikey. I love how he's like, "Here, let me show you how it's done." And then I
Yes.
think he catches a snag. That scene was so funny, and I just
I,
love how that scene plays out, where like Mikey is able to do it, and it's like, "Dad, I know you were just trying to make me look good."
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, yeah. I did love that part actually. Yeah. I think it went back to there's definitely something or some sort of connection with Sam and his dad or something that happened. And so yeah, that was a nice moment, definitely.
I
Um,
may have I don't want to call it a theory necessarily, but um, if you haven't picked up, but what did you think Sam's home life was like? I kind of forget like what we do find out exactly.
all I know that he was on a farm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he works on the farm. We see a younger version of him later on in episode 2. But yeah, that's yeah. I
Oh, so
don't think I
fun
knew
fact
know
that
more than
that is played by I believe Adam Logan. I'd have to really Adam Alfonso. Yeah, I think he would. I think Alfonso is also a name he goes by because I know he was also credited as like Adam Logan. That play he plays young Sam and does returns for some more. Let's spoiler to you, and I know you're trying to remain spoiler free, but that's gonna
that's all
be
right.
the young Sam reflection,
Okay, so I was gonna ask you, are we gonna be I'm assuming we're gonna be cutting to the dad and young Sam a couple times, or perhaps he's gonna try to call him more, is maybe
or
you don't
maybe
don't
yeah,
answer it, but or
right,
maybe.
right,
Okay.
or maybe. So
Uh,
yeah, so I
will
thought I had
will
to look that up because I was curious.
will older Sam seeing younger Sam, would that be a paradox or
He doesn't go into the future.
okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Al does Al mention it
So
within his own lifetime?
I don't know that he said that. So I had questions about when and if he could travel,
Okay,
when he could travel, and that I also was one. Al says at some point that the real Tom is he in Sam's body in the future? Is that what he said, or in the present?
I don't remember what he says, but and they may not have ironed out the details in this episode, but yes, eventually, if we didn't get that now, what we may eventually see is that they switch kind of auras, right? So Sam is inhabiting Tom's body, and so Tom, yes, will be in Sam's body in
They
the waiting
swapped.
room. Yeah, so
Okay.
so so the Leap Bees go into the waiting room. And so I think
Okay.
that's all we can say for now because other rules have not yet been revealed or quite established. Um, Speaking of quote unquote established, a couple Al-isms. I'm not sure if we want to call it anything else, but caca is something that Al says, like when something goes wrong, like, when a little caca. So you'll hear him say that.
I do remember
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, I considered making a count, for each episode, but I also feared that like if I don't get a chance to kind of rewatch an episode to get the count correct by memory, it wouldn't be suffice. So this is probably something I won't do. But I believe in the two episodes, three instances, Al says, "Ain't that a kick in the butt?" Because I do remember that's something that he does say, but I don't believe it's as quotable. Like I believe that's I think a lot of fans do know like, oh, ain't that a kick in the butt? It's something else said, but I don't know. When you're exchanging quotes, I don't know if anyone's going, "Oh boy, ain't that a kick in the butt?" Like something like that. But that is something that I hear I do remember hearing Al say in future episodes.
Cool.
All right.
I,
What
I
else? Where else do you want to go there?
I had a couple other things. Uh, when we're at the part where he's actually trying to break the record, Mark, the owl is late to show up, and he just kind of appears in the cockpit, which is funny. But actually, before it starts and Sam's dropping down, he yells Albert, but it kind of sounded like Alvin from the Chipmunks. I don't know if it was just
Sure.
me, but I was like, sound like Dave. Um, but I liked how he appeared that time, just kind of like in his lap. And I guess we learned that Al was an astronaut. Is that correct? And so he kind
Yeah.
of teaches him how to fly the plane. Um, and I guess he does break the record, and then parachutes right out before it explodes. Um, and I guess we learned too that the at that point, because before that he actually explains. I think we like learn the premise so that that's when it's explained that Ziggy is there to tell him to that he has to change something, and we learn that the real Tom um, didn't break the record. He died, and also, did we learn at that point that his wife went into labor early and the baby was stillborn? I don't know if it was like that exact moment, but
That might have been
yeah,
episode 2. I don't remember the details. I did watch the episodes back to back, which kind of
yeah,
hurt because
I'm
I'm
kind of
not looking to
conflating the
take.
two.
Yeah, I'm not looking to take extensive notes because if you guys wanted like the deep dives, those episodes have been done. We're just gonna rewatch and it's kind of like two buddies talking about the episode afterwards. But yeah, so I don't remember the actual timeline in the two episodes when that was mentioned. But yeah, we're also gonna learn Peggy yeah, gives birth prematurely, baby was born, stillborn, and I don't remember if she also passed. I'm kind of forgetting that detail. But let me go back to one before I forget, since now we're kind
Oh,
of talking
sorry.
about the second episode. No, it's fine because you brought it up. The kiss. Now, how it ended with the part one of Genesis, I took that as that's not how Tom kisses, and so it made her suspicious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was the very next episode, but he tries to leap out, but then he goes flying through the air, but then he goes right back to there, and that was interesting. But yeah, I think between that and his buddies knowing, and yeah, the way he kissed. Also, there was a scene earlier than that. They were driving, I believe they were driving home from the bar, and he talks about white lines on roads, and there was something else he was talking about in the car then. I can't remember. Sorry.
Yeah,
Da,
no,
da,
it's
da,
quite
da.
all right. I kind of forget too, but there's something that he does tell her one time that
Oh,
upsets her.
because he doesn't know how to. She asked, How do you know how to dance? You've never been able, or maybe that would have been at the bar
Oh yeah,
actually.
yeah,
He
he's
did,
got two left
yeah,
feet.
he didn't know how to dance, and there was something. Or I think he like tried to tell her. I think said, I'm not Tom. I'm Sam. I'm in Tom's body. And then she gives this look, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm just fooling around. I'm sorry. It's a big trick
Right,
with
right.
the
It,
guys. I'm
it
sorry."
it's a prank. It's a joke that he tells Weird Ernie, and yeah, there's gonna be some of that. But there was another time because he does admit like, oh no, I was just joking with you. It's a joke. I'm just being silly. And then I believe in the second episode where they're having people over to eat. I kind of forget if there was like a something that they were celebrating, but I remember like Sam walks into the kitchen to be helpful. He's like, "Oh, like I make a mean um I'm thinking,
Yeah, it was
was
something.
it casserole or something or
Yeah,
um
and she's like, "You don't
oh,
cook."
Caesar salad. I don't even think that she says
Yeah,
that. Like I think he was like, "Oh, I make a mean Caesar salad," and she gives him this look, and I think he's now picking up like, "Okay, I don't cook," so it's like, "I'm just kidding with you." So I thought that part was really funny.
yes, yes, yes. I like that too. Um, but I
Um,
another part. Go
mm,
ahead.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I was gonna jump to the hospital scene with the baby. I liked that he's having her do Lamaze, and and the other doctors are like, what is he, what's happening, what's going on? I don't understand why is he having her breathe like that? And it's working. um and so they need to prevent the baby, so all of a sudden, Tom's giving all these orders because Sam's a doctor. And I did look. They're like looking at him like, well, that can't do it. And eventually, what they're doing is they're giving her drugs to make her drunk to stop the delivery. Um, and I really like that Peg, after all that, is very drunk, kind of wasted, I guess, a little bit, and she's singing the Doris Day song that was on the radio at the very beginning of the episode, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that little part too. So
Yeah, they'll call back to that. I thought this episode was really well written and really well directed. Um, there was a let's see here. When in episode in part two, when Al tells him a little bit more about the project and stuff. He does show him like the string theory, which I don't believe he even calls it that yet. That's Sam's theory. Like that's
oh,
the whole
okay.
flux capacitor moment. The string theory that you're able to leap within your own lifetime, touching all these points or whatever. Like, there's other people that can explain it far better than I. But that's going to be something that comes up every once in a while. That's something that Sam came up. So to answer your question about like the leaping, it's only within his own time lifetime. So it won't be before
Okay.
he's born or after he's born. Asterisks.
So, quick question, because I watched
Yes.
some of the reboot series. Didn't that main character leap way out of his lifetime? Wasn't he
Yes.
like in the? Okay, all right, just checking. Okay, all right,
I
fair enough.
if I don't really remember the details, but I think it's they didn't want to like pigeonhole himself or handcuff himself to the rules of the original series, to be
Okay,
able to, leap further back and stuff like that since it did take place, several decades later.
okay, so fair enough.
All right. So we talked about the theory, talked about what else happened in the second episode. You mentioned the birth. Anything else in the second episode? What about that phone call? The leap as the baseball player.
Yeah, so he leaps and he's a player for the Bombers, which I looked up is not a real baseball team. Uh, and yeah, and at this point, I guess. Well, Al is talking to him, so and Al, who's not supposed to tell him anything, tells him his last name. So now he's able to call the operator and talk to his dad. And that was like a nice call. I like that a lot. Uh, Says he was from Australia, which was kind of funny. And then the dad's like, "Oh, I named my boy Sam too." Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good call. Um, I don't know that I had much about it. It just seemed like he really missed his dad for some reason. So, like, I'm guessing that it's more. I don't know if it's that he's passed away and he misses him, or if something, or if he did something that caused him to pass away. I don't know, but yeah. But I did like that phone call, and yeah. Um,
Yeah, I don't think it's spoilery or anything like that. My guess is that, his dad passes in 1974. I want to say the present time is 95. Somebody will correct us on that. And so
oh, okay,
yeah, I think it's just, Sam hasn't seen his dad in 20 years, in over 20 years and probably just, misses him. And
okay.
yeah, and that's a sense of like who I am, so being able to call his dad, I did find that phone call not jarring. Jarring isn't the right word I'm looking for, but when he calls and his dad picks up, Sam tells him that their dads are brothers. So that would make him his cousin, right?
Wait.
Because
Yes,
because
yeah.
yeah, because it threw me off because Sam goes, "Oh, I'm John's son." And then his dad goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, I haven't seen John since he moved to Australia." And so we're also finding out that Sam's dad has an uncle named John. So he's also a John, may not be named after his uncle. But that kind of confused me at first. I'm like, well, but he calls John. So who's the other John? Does John have a brother named John?
Oh, okay.
You
I
know,
didn't realize the dad's name was John as well. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
It
interesting.
he might have asked for John Beckett to the operator. I might be misremembering
Okay.
that, but we also find out that he's from Elk Ridge, Indiana. That is where Sam's from. So just a few things that was dropped there as well. Did you understand the actual baseball leap? And so they originally didn't win, and so he needed to help them win.
Yeah, he didn't win. So first, I want to say that they did the mirror gag with that actor, and I thought that was horrible. I think the actor didn't
Wasn't as
match
clean.
Sam.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I'm looking, I'm like, you didn't do such a good job, bud. I'm sorry.
yeah.
But yeah, so I guess he after 5 years before that game, that player was hurt, um, and he was sent down to the minors and never made it back up. And then this was his last game. They lost, and then I guess he got so undetermined to ever play baseball again that he opened up a KFC and got married. And I believe I saw that now that because they won this one game and weren't in last place, they were just, second to last. Um, he continues playing baseball, I believe. I read somewhere, maybe on the wiki.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Did
so I guess that was
did
the purpose of
the
that leap was not to win. And it was a very so the pitch is coming, and Sam doesn't swing at the first pitch. By the way, that whole music, it sounded like Back to the Future music to me. I'm just saying. It sounded like sound effects. I'm just saying. And then I think he swings at the second pitch, misses it. He swings at the third pitch, the catcher drops it, and then it's just all kind. It's like five errors in a row, all kinds of calamity, and somehow he runs to all the bases. It was very funny, but
okay.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, also, the coach mentions, like this is basically his last game too, and he didn't want to spend it in the cellar, quote unquote. And so it was nice for that victory and for his coach to have his final game run out into the field and celebrate a victory. So there was that too. Yeah, this last tidbit at the end, it definitely wasn't about the leap, it gave a chance to for Sam to call home and give us kind of a happy ending, and hopefully that more people was kind of warmed up by that ending, that they will continue watching. um yeah, that was kind of my guess, because I always kind of remembered like the second leap coming in and it being so short. I always thought that was a little weird. And again, they were still kind of figuring things out. The leaping through the air that you kind of mentioned earlier in the very beginning, that was I think that was just to well, it's gonna be part of the intro, but that's not how we see it. It's kind of like
Okay,
how
I was wondering
yeah,
if they were just
Al
trying that
mentions it.
out, or
Yeah. Al mentions it's pretty much instantaneous for Sam. Like Sam will just leap and then show up then somewhere else. To them, there might be some time in between and they have to locate him in time by using the person in the waiting room. And so there's going to be a lot of that. And again, apologies to the experts listening at home. There's going to be a lot of things we get incorrect because we are coming in brand new to the fandom. You want to get to our games?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a couple things real quick. To just something I was a little disappointed in was, and it's just because they had an '80s TV show budget, but they used like stock footage for the flying for the jets and stuff, which I didn't expect them to get like a real jet and film.
Sure.
But I was really looking forward to the explosion for the Mach 3, and we didn't see the explosion at all. All we saw was like this little broken model falling to the ground, and like I don't know, but I guess that's just kind of was the time and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, sure. And
So
on that very similar tidbit there, I do love the transfer on, I think we both watched this on Roku. I have the DVDs packed up somewhere in some boxes. I do want to get the Blu-ray, but the transfer that they had for, the Roku channel, I'm sure it's HD. It looks great. So, yeah, why I bring that up is because when it does switch to like the stock footage, it's it's so noticeably bad. It's just like, oh gosh, that's just the one thing they can correct in the transfer. So, all right, so here we go, you guys. We are going to get into our games, these superlatives that we're going to play at the end of every episode. I'm going to explain each of them, and then we're going to go down in that order. So the very first one. I'm tipping my hand here. I'm calling it the Howdy Doody moment. And so Howdy Doody is referenced in, I believe, the first episode, but this is when something that gives you a sense of the era. It could be the year, it could be, the window of that time frame or whatever. Something that you're like, that pretty much dates it. That reference, I kind of get it. The area code moment is going to be the second one. It's when Sam says something that doesn't make sense for its time. So he asks like Peg and Mikey, like, what's the area code? They're like, area code. And so that will happen. When was Sam seen talking to himself? So it's not a matter of like, did it happen in this episode? It's when did it happen in this episode? The
Yes.
next one I have, was there a needle drop that you liked? For those that don't know, a needle drop is music that is played in the episode. So there was at least a couple. Another song was mentioned, not played, but I may bring that up. Um, the next topic I have is back in my day, and that is basically something that is now obsolete. Whether it's uh, I don't know, some sort of technology. If there's a Howdy Doody, right? Like that would fit. Back in my day, we had the show called Howdy Doody, which is no longer around.
Sure.
So, something like that. That is definitely not around anymore. The next one I have is making me do homework. So this is something that was brought up that made you want to look it up, whether it's fact checking or whatever. The next one, we might have like a different title for it, but we're calling it MVP, like who was the MVP of the episode. We might call it MVL. I don't know, most valuable leaper, although not everybody's a leaper, only Sam. So maybe if we get some suggestions, we can go from there. But MVP of the episode. And oh, you also wanted to add your favorite moment, like the one single moment in the episode, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we will include
Definitely.
best moment. Maybe that we can come up with another name for that as well. And then we will end it with this date in history. And then to conclude that, again, we'll have Mikey give his predictions based off of the teaser for the next sleep with the title, and then we'll end it with that. So going back to oh, and did you have anything to add, Mikey? I didn't even ask you that.
Uh, no, no,
I guess
no.
you
We're
kind of
ready
already
to go.
gave me. All right, so the Howdy
Yes.
Doody moment. Howdy Doody was mine. Was there anything else that gave you the sense of the era?
It was Mikey running around in his Davy Crockett hat.
Kind of
Yes.
reminds me of the I'm forgetting the brother's name from Back to the Future, right? Played by the
Yes.
other brother from a Wonder Years, yeah.
Yes. Wayne. Jason Hervey.
Wait,
Yes.
there you go. Thank you. What was your uh area code moment? This is again when Sam says something that doesn't make sense for his time, and mine was area code.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was when he was doing Lamaze in the hospital. Yeah. Having her do it, and everyone was looking at him like, what's he doing?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned the white lines, when he's driving with
Oh,
Peg.
yeah. Yes, yes, yes.
Now, I did
Um,
read something that like the first highway that had white lines was like 1917, and person who I guess
oh,
painted those white lines passed away like in 1954. I've been reading up a lot and I'm mixing up some information, but somebody did try to fact check that. So somewhere in the US that was already around. What
interesting.
about, did you note when Sam was seen talking to himself?
Yeah. Well, my favorite time was at the baseball game, and like, okay, so this technically doesn't. He's talking to Al, but the baseball player thinks he's talking to him, and he's saying, come with me, and the player's like, I can't, I'm up. So, I mean, that was my favorite, but I guess he wasn't doing that. But I think the time he was actually talking to himself that was my favorite was in the bar when he was at the jukes box, just kind of like talking to nobody, and that was kind of like out in public in front of, at least 20 people. So yeah.
It's the one I have too, and maybe for that, like basically when either somebody sees Sam talking to himself or if he's talking to Al and somebody else thinks, that he's talking to them. So yeah, I think maybe we can lump those two together.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, needle drop.
So the only song I remember is the Doors Day Que Sera Que Sera. But I guess they did play something at the bar on the jukebox, but I don't remember what it was.
I agree with you. I don't remember what that was. My needle drop was Hound Dog on the radio when Bird Dog picks him up.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I forgot
Ah,
about
you
that.
know what?
Okay, good
Okay,
deal.
so that scene just reminded me another one of those that the area code moment. So it does remind me of another area code moment, and this is actually that upsets Peggy a little bit because of like the whole him saying that he's not who he is, et cetera, et cetera. It's so when he's with Bird Dog and they're listening to Hound Dog, Sam has all these like shaving cuts on his face, which is also like visually
Yeah,
funny. Yeah, and
yes.
when he was driving with Peg, he mentions like, "Oh, my electric razor," and then he's like, "I don't use an electric razor, do I?" And so it kind of is a callback to like him sh having to shave with an actual shaver, and so yeah, it just made me think like, oh man, the struggle back then, with the single razor, which was probably a little bit more difficult, a little bit more rough, not as smooth, like your Gillettes and all these other shavers that you have now, especially the electric razor. So. I thought that was a fun moment there. But yeah, Hound Dog was one that came on Elvis Presley, obviously, and it played on the radio. Uh, the
Yes.
the song I wanted to mention that does not get played but gets name dropped is Bebopalula, by no, by oh God, what's his name? Something Vincent, or Vincent something. It's no, I'm more familiar with the Everly Brothers version, which is a lot more different, but there's an original version of Bebopalula. But that's something that Al requested on the jukebox. He's like, "Oh, I wonder if they have this." And that's the song that I'm
Oh,
also
right.
familiar with. Yeah. Okay. And let's see here. Oh, back in my day, was there anything that you saw that is now obsolete?
Um, I guess I mean, well, there was a rotary phone, which I don't think we can use anymore. Maybe you can. Um, but there was, I don't, was it a washing machine? That it was like a little white appliance it was shaking when the planes were flying by that Peg was using.
That
I
was
don't know if
also
that was a
mine.
clothes washer. Okay,
I think,
yeah.
yeah, I think that's supposed to be a washing machine. We're showing our age,
Okay.
obviously, like because we're not sure, but I believe it is. I believe it is a washing machine, and that's what I also have. Clearly, we still have washers, but nothing like that anymore.
Yeah.
And the rotary phone, I believe we still have them, except for they don't rotate. I think you just push the buttons now. I think they're
Oh,
just
yeah, yeah.
styled, yeah, like the rotary phones.
Yes.
All right, was anything in this episode that made you do homework?
So I did look up if the record for Mach 3 was broken that day, and I believe it was a year later, and I don't remember and I don't have it, and I apologize for that. But yeah,
No,
I did look up when the record was broken, and it wasn't at that point, but it was a little later than that. So
okay,
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't have to be like precise, and it's just something that you did look up. The thing that I looked up was when Peg asked Sam, "What's a nerd?" Because you mentioned, you
Oh
know,
yes, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and this is all over everywhere. The different like Quantum Leap, wikis and IMDb even had it, but apparently there was a Dr. Seuss book that mentions nerd in like 1951, but I don't think it was like your traditional slang that we know it now.
Wasn't in the
Although
vernacular.
yeah, I believe Newsweek printed an article basically by like 1961. It was already like a very popularized slang. So by 56, I mean, if she kind of, we, I don't remember if they mentioned how long Peg has been with Tom or married to Tom, but it's possible, maybe they've just kind of been living like that military life and not really exposed to a lot of the outside, and maybe she's not privy to nerd yet. So like I would buy it even by 56, and it's slang, and usually
That's
they don't
true.
catch on for yeah, catch on for a while. And you're watching Howdy Doody. You're not going to learn the new slangs from Howdy Doody. At least not nerd, the way they were using it. And I did think it was interesting that what a little thing that I remembered reading about when I looked up nerd is that they were calling it like a synonym for like square. I'm like, oh right, because people used to call each other squares,
Yes,
L7,
yes, yes. Yeah.
So
So okay. So Nerds didn't come along from Revenge of the Nerds, the movie, I guess. I didn't know. But I didn't
no, no,
know
no.
when I didn't know when the word was started, so no idea.
Yeah.
So
Who was your MVP? And if you want to explain like how you decided this person and what you meant by it, the MVP.
Yes. So first of all, I will probably never pick Sam or Al or or the actors or anything just because they're always there. To me, it's this show. I'm assuming is going to have guest stars every episode. So I think that's unless there's not a standout guest star, I don't see me picking them. So I just thought it was a way to point out the best guest star of the episode. And for me, it was Jennifer Runyon as Peggy. I think she did a great job, and yeah, I don't know. That's who I choose.
Okay. I also choose her. Did you say Jennifer Runyon? Is it Jennifer Runyon?
I believe so. Yes.
I have
And
it
if I
up
said
right
that wrong,
here.
I'm so
It
sorry.
is, yeah, Jennifer Runyon, yeah, Peggy Stratton. So I also go with her, and I just love when they're in the hospital and Sam is telling like the doctors this is what she needs, and then like the one doctor's like, "So what would you think?" And he's like, just trust me on this, don't ask, or like, I'm kind of forgetting the dialogue, and then because like the discussion was like, oh yeah, it's gonna make her drunk and slow down like the delivery or whatever, and then it cuts to her singing and she's pretend to be inebriated for the scene. And I just thought it was so funny that she just totally committed. And she did a lot too. Like, when they were in the bar and she's dancing with, who she thinks is Tom, there's a lot of things that like Sam says that makes her, she would put her head on his chest to dance. And then he would say something and she would stop and look at him and then put her head back on the chest. So like, I don't know if they had to kind of work that quote unquote choreography because I thought it was a very organic reaction, and so I don't know if that was scripted, if that was improvised, but she did a lot that kind of drew me to that character. So
Yeah,
the only criticism I had is the running and not like holding the belly. She was like sprinting out of the house following the explosion.
true.
That's it. But again,
But
I'm sure the baby is, it's nice and comfortable on the inside and maybe didn't need holding. Um, okay, so that's pretty much it for our games. And if you can describe what you saw for Sam leaping into the next episode, what did that look like to you? Oh,
sure, but
also,
let
do you
me do
want the
this day in
title?
history first.
Oh, yes, I forgot about that one. Yeah, this date in history. So September 13th, 1956. What do you have?
So on that day, IBM, the computer company, um, created this the it's created a disk drive for the called the RAMac, and it's the first commercial computer to use disk storage. And the disk drive itself was like around 5 foot by 5 foot by 2 feet big. So yeah, so
Wow.
if you wanted to buy one, and I believe it only had like 16 megabytes of storage, so you couldn't store much. So yeah,
16
I also
megabytes for something 5 foot by 5 foot.
buy two. Yep.
That
Yep.
is crazy because if you asked me, I would have just assumed that external hard drive storage or whatever was always like a floppy disk. Like before we got the diskettes, we had the actual floppy disk. Like that's my earliest memory.
I think the disc they said I didn't put it down, but I believe they were like 2 foot by 2 feet by 2 feet, I believe. So
Yeah, that's huge.
yeah. So and a couple other things, composer Igor Stravinsky, um, his Canticum Sacrum premiered in Venice, and I have the number one song of that day. And so first, I'm not going to say the UK number one song, but the only reason why I'm bringing it up is because it was in the show. It was Que Sera by Doris Day. It was the number one song in the UK. And the number
Oh,
one
okay.
song, yeah, it was Don't Be Cruel slash Hound Dog by Elvis. So, and the number one movie was High Society, directed by Charles Walters, starring Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, and Frank Sinatra, which
You
I've
know
never
what's
seen.
crazy? Well, number one, thank you for doing that. Number two, I was
Yes,
literally gonna text you yesterday and be like, "Hey, so you're doing that dating history. Do you think it'd be fun if I did something for pop culture like music and movies?" And you already did it. So there you
I
go.
got you. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Yes.
appreciate that. Okay, so before we get into final thoughts, anything else you want to add, or maybe we could do final thoughts now before we end with the prediction.
Um, final thoughts. Let's see. I enjoy the episodes a lot. I'm enjoying the show so far. It's a little more campy than I thought it was going to be, but that's not a bad thing at all. I like it. And so far, I think my favorite character is Al.
Yeah, I like Al a lot. I joked with you before this that I feel that your personality is a little bit more kind of like Sam. I might be a little bit more like Al. I'm the military guy, right? So I'm the veteran. I spent 10 years in the U.S. Army. Uh, maybe there might be some other similarities that I don't really want to put myself out there in, but yeah, I do. I see some of Sam in you as well. So we're kind of leaping into those characters in a sense. Yeah, I really enjoyed these two episodes, and I did re-listen to my guest spot on the Quantum Leap podcast after show with Albie, which actually aired on the YouTube channel over 3 years now. And I was surprised to hear something I said um, that made me go, "Oh, I can't believe I said that," because it's not something that I've shared and I've only thought about. So it was just interesting that I even said it out loud. But I said something like, season one I felt was like the weakest season, or maybe had episodes that I revisit the least. But rewatching the Genesis parts one and two, I was like, man, these two episodes were really solid for being the very first two episodes. So I hope that my memory changes, as we go through the season one episodes and whatever it is, this is also the first time I'm coming in and watching these critically, to podcast about. And so before I was literally just watching it as a fan, and I wouldn't go further that much really after watching those episodes. I might look up a few things here and there, but not the way I would when I'm reviewing something. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things I miss and whatnot, and that's why I'm looking forward to rewatching these episodes for basically kind of like a soft retitling of the Quantum Leap podcast rewatch, or Quantum Leap rewatch podcast. So that's kind of the style that we're going to be taking it with these episodes. Not trying to educate you guys a whole lot because everything's already been said on this podcast by people far smarter than us, two authors. Okay, and so
Yes.
we're just two friends that are gonna watch these. I'm introducing Mikey to a show that was his blind spot growing up, and it was my favorite show growing up, albeit, being a little kid watching this, going to school and telling kids about like Al and Sam, and they're just like, "What? We're watching like Power Rangers stuff, dude. What are you what are you doing?" So I do hope to also share like maybe how the show might have impacted me or influenced me. Uh, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So some of these episodes I really, really hold like near and dear to my heart for reasons. So can't wait to get to those. All right, Mikey, the leap, the next episode is Star-Crossed Lovers. Let me, if you can actually describe the leap while I double check that. I was trying to do that off of memory and I didn't feel good the way it rolled off the tongue. Star-Crossed. It is called Star-Crossed. Wait, there we go.
Okay. So he leaps into a professor, correct? Who and I is I is he trying to be Indiana Jones? Is he going to go searching
That's
for the
a
Holy Grail?
Yeah, that's the vibe that I got,
I don't
right?
know.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
so so based off of that, he looks like Indiana Jones in professor setting, right? And it's called
Yes.
Star-Crossed.
Star-crossed. Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna guess that he's a professor and he is supposed to be in love with somebody, but something happened and he has to get back together with this. I'm gonna assume woman because we didn't date men back then. So yeah,
Not
that's
yet,
my
yeah.
that's my prediction.
All right, that's a interesting one, and we will see how it unfolds when we get to the next episode. So, yeah, the social medias are the same. You can find us at Quantum Leap Podcast on Instagram and Quantum Leap Pod on X. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you guys on the next leap.